and welcome to another WeAreDevelopers Live. I turned off my virtual screen so I can have a better resolution, and you can see me in all warts and horrible things. And there's a disco ball here now, so that's pretty cool as well. So we can go for total disco.
Well, yeah, we were having one backstage actually, weren't we? We were we always sort of have that little sort of minute, and that one went on for quite a while. So I always have a little scroll and have a look, and we're all dancing. If you're not dancing backstage, are you even streaming? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, there's the whole power moves thing that people do before they talk. Like, then you do like, yay, I already won, and it's really amazing. And like, you can pump your body up, and basically your brain thinks you've already been winning. And a lot of people do that. Like, if you do a bit of jumps, like if you just won a race, then basically your brain will also throw out things to make you happy and make you a better speaker. Today, we have a guest again, because we had a few things at the Congress that didn't work out. So, and luckily enough, all of these sessions were 10-minute sessions. So we thought, instead of just like faking them or like making like AI animated 10-minute things that make no sense, we basically get the people on the show one after the other and let them give their 10-minute talks now. So without further ado, we got Jan Moser here today.
Hello, everyone. Nice.
How are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you?
I'm good, thanks a lot. I'm at the moment in rainy Switzerland. It was like high temperature in summer just before today. I hope this is not another sign of God hating tattooed people. And when I'm not just looking out the window, I'm working as a lead consultant for Gradient. It's a consulting company, and I'm at the moment working for a Swiss financial institute. That's also why I'm allowed to be in Switzerland and not in Asia, where I usually live.
Oh, where do you normally live?
Usually I'm living in Vietnam now. Before I was in Thailand. We have major offices there, and the temperature difference is a bit significant at the moment. But yeah, like for this year, I am the whole year up in Switzerland due to the project scope.
Mm-hmm. And a lot less scooters in the street, I think, like in Vietnam.
True. People drive a bit more carefully than in Vietnam.
Yeah, and slowly, I guess. And I guess it's Switzerland. You have to fill out forms at every intersection, and like, oh no, that's Germany. Wait.
Just our fines are more expensive than yours.
Yeah. So you were supposed to give a talk at the Congress in one of the smaller stages, and as you've done things probably to anger the gods, there was lightning, a storm, and rain, so you couldn't give your talk. How did that make you feel? Was it just like, damn, I prepared so much for this, and now the whole Congress is wasted, or what do you feel at the moment?
I've done festivals as a DJ before, and it's just like, for the people and the safety, it's like the one thing you should take care of. And I'm really happy that you did be responsible and not say, we push it through and then make people maybe get injured or whatever, because it was quite rainy and windy at the time. So I think it was completely the right decision. And I mean, the rest of the conference was so awesome. I met so many cool people. I attended so many cool shows. So anyone that did not join this year, join next year. It's super worth everything.
I think the weirdest bit for me was like the outside DJ that was at the Airstream stage. I basically came up on stage and checked my microphone for the moderation and stuff, and then he's like, "I know you," and I'm like, "Okay, fair enough. That happens a lot, but what's going on?" Turns out that he lived above me in my first flat here in Berlin, and I didn't even know he was a DJ. So basically, we were neighbors for like half a year, and then I moved away from the place. And he's like, "Oh, where are you now?" And I'm like, "I'm just 3 miles down the road. Like we still in touch now." So yeah. So what do you DJ?
Usually, I'm doing like psytrance and melodic house and techno. That's like, and mostly in Asia. They're quite often like from India to China, basically everywhere where there are smaller, bigger festivals or bar gigs sometimes as well. Yeah, just the temperature allow for more outdoor events in this case.
I think my favorite was in Singapore and in Tokyo, when you had these cars that just pull up and unfold into a whole DJ booth, and people just start playing under a bridge for like an hour till the police comes, and that's it. And you're like, I've never seen that. I mean, the 80s had like big boom boxes in the back of your cars and stuff, but that's a totally different level that those people are doing it with, like fog machines and everything.
Yeah, I think I studied in Japan, and I had that once or twice, but the cops are quite fast on them, and then they close it down also quite rigorously. I also don't know if they get fined or so, but yeah, they just remove everyone for the location and say, look, do whatever you do, but not here and not with these guys.
Nice. I also love all these YouTube videos where you have people just above the knobs and not even turning them, and basically just having a playlist, and there's like, oh, there's a really cool looking DJ, and you're like, yeah, if a DJ looks groomed, or a musician for that matter looks groomed and perfect, something is amiss, I think.
True. I mean, you have also this very famous Grimes at Coachella thing where she played like drum and bass or so, and then because it calculated the BPMs wrong and halved it, basically she played on sync, and the second track slowed down everything when the sync set in, and it was a complete disaster. She could not mix it up to the things, and just screaming and then walking off stage. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's like with software, some minimal skills you should retain, even in terms of AI coding. I mean, if things go south, you basically should be able to still perform at maybe a reduced level, but you still should be able to perform.
I remember when I grew up in the 90s, there was the Frankfurt techno scene, of course, like with all the big clubs and all the big names. And for some reason, the German radio station, like the official government radio station, would basically broadcast live during the whole night from those 24-hour rave places. So the DJs would basically recordings that you would pay a lot of money for, I guess, but like that was just because they didn't have anything to send at night. And the DJs were then asked to also do all the other, like the reports for like traffic jams and these kind of things, you know. And depending how many chemicals they had in them, it was just absolutely hilarious at times what came out of that one.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And then they had this like the Space Night was on television as well, where they just had pictures of space and trance music going for like 6 hours, and then it ended. The first program after that was Teletubbies, so it was absolutely perfect to come down from whatever you've taken. It was just really, really interesting.
True, and later I think there was the Bernd das Brot the whole night. I think Kika or so streamed that. It was like hilarious. If, let's say, you came home from an event and you were in that mindset, it was always hilarious to have those series.
Arte had these people dressed up as sheep that were jumping over each other that you could count to go to sleep, kind of thing. Like that was another bit.
I'm gonna have to find these. I'm gonna have to cut these in now when I share this video. Yeah, thanks for that.
Absolutely wonderful times. Yeah. Now Jan is going to talk about a topic that made me think about a thing we need to build. He talks about how software development is a bit like tattoos, and how our tattoos are a bit like software development. I guess it's, you do something in the 90s that you regret later, you do something amazing in the 2000s that you like later on, and you do something later you can't show on camera. Yeah, it's a great commitment. It's great fun, and I thought we should actually start a social network for people that work in technology and have tattoos, and we should call it Inked In.
Awesome! I would love that.
Cool. So we send over to you then to actually give your presentation. We're going to pretend to listen. We're going to listen in, and then we're going to have a few questions for you afterwards. But here is the thing you missed, because Jan did things to annoy the gods and the rain started, and now he has a chance to repeat his presentation from the Congress. This comparison has a lot of legs, because I think there's also the bit like when I had my last tattoo done, and it's the whole leg, and basically it was 5 hours in one go, and the tattoo artist was first of all super excited about that. I just told her what I want to have, but let her do the design. And secondly, that I didn't come up with something on my phone that I saw on Instagram that, like, I mean, she said like the big thing was like people had this like little mosquito here on Instagram, and everybody wanted that. And everybody knows that skin is living. So after 3 years, that little mosquito would be a blue blotch, like you just came out of prison or something. And it basically is not what you see on Instagram on the first day. And that feels to me the same about software as well. Software products grow over time and change over time. And actually, when you don't put the effort into documentation and communication, then it actually can grow out of proportion, and it can bleed out into places that you don't want to have. And the other thing is it's really hard to find a tattoo artist that does a do-over. So basically, or a cover up, basically, because most of them say like, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. I don't want to mess up, fix somebody else's thing, which is the same in software because nobody wants to work on legacy code that actually was messed up before.
Luckily, I didn't have to have a makeover or a cover up yet, but yes, it's fully true. I mean, I think my tattoo artist, because in Asia he's quite famous, he would not even do. I think if you go there with an Instagram picture, they would say no, thank you. We have enough customers that we can bring our own creativity in. Than just doing something that's a copy of as you said, something that people are not even aware of the consequences.
Yeah. And yeah, the legacy stuff I think comes in there as well. Like the product that you put in place right now will be painful to remove and will be painful to change. And I know a lot of people who had like laser removal, and they said like it's actually worse than the tattooing. And that's also the same. Like when a company worked with a software product for like 10 years, removing that and changing it to something because a new framework came out really doesn't go down that well normally.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, even if you just update off, or if you didn't update your libraries for like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years, especially in front end and web design. I mean, these libraries, they get updated so fast, which is, I mean, it's a good thing because they're well maintained. But if you do not keep up, and then you have to the big change, usually that becomes a Pandora box and cost-wise a nightmare. And I had several projects like this, which then grew like by factor 3 or 5 because we thought, oh, it's just update those library. What can go wrong? And we found out a lot.
Well, one thing also you touched on to a degree is that respect thing. Like that, a lot of people, when you say you go to a tattoo artist, you don't stagger in that drunk and say like, make me an anchor on my forearm or something, but you basically see that there are artists, that they actually know what they're doing, and you can see at the quality of the tattoo parlor, like, do they reuse the needles or do they actually clean stuff and these kind of things. And it's the same with software. Oftentimes, especially in our accelerated times right now, well, people will come up and say like immediately in the first pitch, like, oh yeah, we only need like 1 engineer for that, right? And you as a consultant, you already have like 10 of your engineers ready and waiting, and you're basically like, no, it's not one person with a vibe coding environment that will actually fix your internet banking infrastructure that's been in place in 15 years, right?
Agreed. I mean, I think it's always the balance as a consultant or an external software house. You always have this dilemma. I mean, if you see that the requirements of a customer, they come up with, like, as you said, yeah, I think we need one developer and with a vibe code, with a cursor or so, and then it will fix it in 2 weeks. We have everything fixed. So I think especially today, it's even harder to explain to them, no, that's not going to, maybe it's going to happen, but not to the extent you like. And maybe the consequences will cost you more than hiring 4 or 5 people and doing it right in the first place. So I think it's, as a consultant, it's always this balance that, do you want to rip it because they think you want to rip them off by staffing more people? And I think to give them the clarity that what they want is just has that and that side effect is still something that yeah, even especially nowadays with vibe coding and all these AI assistants, is getting much harder. Also because like I had customers that said, yeah, we looked at your estimation and we put it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT cut it by like from 30 days to 5 days. So I think you want to rip us off. And I mean, what do you say to that? At some point, we then say, okay, then maybe we are the wrong partner. But still, at some part, I mean, your salespeople are maybe not that happy if you do that too often, because you then come out also as a picky software vendor or so. But I mean, in the end, in my personal opinion, how I grew up writing software is like, I would like to create a sustainable software system that basically can stay over several years. Because in my former project, I used to work in medical and laboratory devices. And I mean, those things should stay relevant over 10, 15 years. They're very expensive. And I mean, if you dare just apply sloppy code, that could also in the end cost lives. And that's not something I rather than would say, okay, then we're the wrong partner for you to create you this software. Then yeah, we do it with 2 people and some cursor instances.
Well, I guess when you're a freelancer at the beginning and you take on too many clients and you're not at a cutoff point, and you're basically like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there when you have questions, don't worry about it. And then you have 5 of those and you answer more email requests like, where do I turn on the computer, than like being able to sell software to the next vendor that you want to get some money from. So there is a way of the clear communication, as you pointed out, that you have to protect yourself from too many requests as well.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think that's also something you need to set a clear scope, especially if it's a fixed price project, or you have to make it clear what falls under warranty, what is support, and how much of which you get for what price, or for free if it's a case of warranty. And I think this is also something that the balance is always to not come out as picky and saying, oh no, if I should look at your code, pay me, versus, yeah, look, as you said, I have things to do which I need to make money off, and your request is maybe not as important as other people's. And I think that this is, especially in consultancy, something you have to learn how to balance it. And I had to learn that the hard way as well.
I mean, you really do get what you pay for, though, right? You know, I feel like it's there were so many things in your talk, Jan, that I was going, God, that maps onto this side of sort of programming. And it's like when we talk about vibe coding using AI, it's a lot of the talk from sort of stakeholders and leaders is, well, look how much money we can save doing it this way. And we know, as you know, from the development side, that the code that they're writing is like derivative. It's just taken from existing code that's in the LLM. So, I mean, they kind of get what they pay for. You know, they save money, but they get quite poor quality code. And you could do the same with the tattooist. I mean, I'm case in point. This one here is the worst tattoo you've ever seen. Which way do I go? That way. Because the story was that I was in a band. We had a tour manager who was actually training to become a tattooist. He wasn't even qualified, which you can tell. And so I saved a load of money, but I got a really bad tattoo. So, you know, it kind of always maps on, doesn't it? The savings we're making, yeah, they might be saving, but like you are losing quality as a result.
I still think that it stays like the price of what you get and what you pay for stays constant. I mean, if you save the money first, usually, especially in code, it could well be that you paid later in form of, let's say, refactorings, or in the worst case that you get fined because you violated some regulations, especially, I mean, if you do GDPR, or you have like personal information leaked out to the public, which hopefully gives you a heavy fine, so that you learn, maybe do that properly the first time.
Don't they normally use pigs for testing tattoo artists rather than people first, because the skin is the same? I guess
as far as I know, they use pigs. But when I'm at the office, or like when I'm at the tattoo parlor of my tattoo artist, they have artificial skin. You can buy that. It's super expensive, and they have like these A4 sheets, and then, I mean, I see those tattoo artists, these junior ones, they first have to just learn how to draw a perfect circle, or they do all these. I mean, I would not have the patience to do that. Besides, I would not have the skills. I mean, everything that would come out were maybe these line figures, but they need to learn to draw a circle, then a square, then fill it properly, then shade the square. So I think the process of becoming a tattoo artist is similarly painful than getting the tattoos.
Well, it seems to me the same as like a good programmer. You have to learn the basics first, and then actually you can start using them. But we keep trying to shortcut it, and then like horrible tattoos come out of it. Like it's an interesting thing. I mean, there's also the long-term investment. When you said like you spend about $70,000 on all your tattoos, but just think of how much you can save on clothes in the future because you don't need them anymore.
True. maybe there are some regional laws that would prevent you on that, and maybe some company policies. But yes, I agree.
Yeah, I know it's warm in the winter either. That's the other problem.
Yeah, true. Here in Europe, I mean, in winter, it's maybe not the best idea to do so.
I found it interesting when you just said with artificial skin and stuff that also in this environment, which brings me to the other side, like old people who've been around for a long time, I tend to actually start using the same things over and over again because they were good in the past and they were good enough in the past. And then I mean, I was amazed by my last tattoo when I remember the first ones that I got, they basically put like the stick film over me and basically let it bleed out. And I was sitting on the tube in London, like I just won a sword fight or something, like, and it was dripping out and everything. And people like, what the hell? And now you got these like sticky sheet basically of like much like plaster that goes on the tattoo afterwards and automatically falls off after 5 days after, and it has like a skin healing cream already in there and stuff. So there's a lot of innovation in that space as well. And that sometimes feels like when people tell me like, oh, just start with React. And I'm like, I can't be bothered. Like, I know it does a lot for me, but at the same time, it always feels like too much and kind of like, do you think there is a way we can have to get away from the cling film and start embracing those new tools as well? Or is it something that is good to be questioning it?
I think it's something you should question, but you should also be open to. I mean, especially also in tattoo. I mean, you have with the social media, you have much more exposure. You see things, as you said, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. And people come and want this, or you have certain styles that you say that they come, I want this and this style. And I mean, if you have no clue about what they're talking, then maybe your reputation will go down a bit, or you're really specialized into some niche. Like, let's say if you're nowadays a COBOL programmer, maybe that's a bit similar, that you say, okay, I do the most awesome realistic tattoos. But I mean, if as a general tattoo artist, I think you should stay up to date. Also, my tattoo artist, when we started with the tattoos, he had this cabled machine, which was super loud and super annoying. I mean, and especially if you're laying there for 7-8 hours, and maybe even 2 or 3 tattoo artists do it on your back, you have this humming all over. And now they all switch to battery-based ones. So it's also good because the tattoo session is only as long as their battery lasts. So, but yes, I think there is. I mean, there is a lot of evolution going on, being also in the sanitary stuff. Like we said, you have the clingy. My tattoo artist uses the clingy film, but says after 2 hours, take it off, wash it off. You have the second skin patches, which I see a lot of people. You have different creams that help you better. I mean, before you put some sunscreen or like Vaseline on it, and nowadays they are specialized like brands that really help your skin heal faster and not crunch off or break off. I think it's a bit similar, because I mean we both have those in software engineering, and in software are also architecture. We need to keep up with, I mean, stuff evolves, and if I would still write software like I did in 2000, maybe, I mean, it would maybe work, but I'm not sure if it would still be, I mean, readable for other developers. I mean, before you had this silo thinking, you were the software engineer in the cave, not talking to anyone. You have the ivory tower architect overlooking, and this master plan no one understands but him or her. And nowadays it's much more collaborative. You have with agile integration of customers. You want to have feedback as soon as possible. And I think this needs an evolution of the mindset as well. And I think the same is for the tattoo artists, that they need to evolve with technologies, and also with that. It's not like, oh, I know what you're doing. Tell me you rose, rabbit, meadow, and I will do something. But the people come maybe with more specific ideas, and I have to discuss over those, so that for both parties it's something that they can like stand behind.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how much is there in the arts department and in the craft department as well. That basically, like, you trust the person to do the right thing and you pay them for a job, And the permanency of a tattoo, it basically makes that more obvious. People all seen bad tattoos, so they actually want to make sure that the person that they're going to, they get something good. And I wish the same was for software, because I mean, but we seem to be accelerating into a space where software is seen as a commodity, and basically like, well, if the whole thing gets deleted tomorrow and removed with something else, that's fine too. And I think that's just a hype at the moment. So hopefully that will go away, much like we all had the tribal rings on our arms in the 90s that now look embarrassing. So that I hope with the same will be with like vibe coded software in half a year.
Yeah, I mean, we had this. I mean, I remember 2000, I don't know, 4 or 5. Microsoft brought out once this. They call that light switch, and it's basically you have data. You just create a database. I mean, to be fair, at this time and still valid is like most of the data or the applications we use are a big part just a visualized database information. And what they did is basically you create a database and then create 2 or 3 clicks and then create an awesome application. And that works until that one requirement. And it's not like today vibe coding where you at least get the source code. It may not be the best, but you have the source code. It was completely black magic. So this thing works. And I know that I made quite some cash on side hustles because these people then came, hey, we used light switch. And this all worked until this one requirement, and now we have to refactor completely the whole code base. And I think at some point it will work. I mean, white coding will work, I guess. I usually say if your problem is not really complex and if it's like something that you do not have to take care of. But I mean, if I have personally identifiable data, if I have customer identifiable data, or if I have secrets or bank information. So I would maybe not use vibe coding. But yeah, let's see. I mean, maybe we all get there was this meme on LinkedIn, I think, with a vibe code cleanup specialist, and maybe this becomes a new job, a new job description.
I saw a vibe marketing specialist the other day on LinkedIn, and I realized there is no God. Like it's vibe marketing. Come on. Cool.
Yeah,
Let's take a look at some more resources that we normally collect for this as well. So, I mean, one thing that I found interesting when you said like that that you learned like from Peaks and Pokes and Basic, and then you went to assembly language. I don't have it here now, but FFmpeg actually just started an assembly course because they want contributors to FFmpeg, and it's still written in assembly. So I've only written 6502 and Amiga 6680, 800. So it was really interesting to see that somebody did a training course for a language like that. I also came up with my next tattoo, which I already wanted to have, but I didn't have. Normally I was a typo 3 camp, and they always have a typo hero where they have a tattoo artist, a local one coming, and you can get like a tattoo and the money goes to the typo 3 foundation and stuff. And this is what I had chosen. It's a permanent 10.
Nice. That's
on
really
brand.
cool.
Yeah, that's very you, Chris. I think you need that.
So there's a reference manual for people who design and build software, and I really like the design of it, first of all, but I actually like a lot of it, how it actually explains how code happens, how things go on the screen, and it basically goes into all the details of like how does a CPU work, machine learning, and these kind of things, and all the things in like a understandable and enticing thing to show, rather than like a 2-second ChatGPT answering it's this and that. And I love that people put things like that together and spend time and effort in documenting these things too.
Yeah, I looked at it too just before the live stream, and I looked and said, oh, and I just bookmarked it. It's so awesome. I mean, all the things you maybe also learned once at university or school, but now, I mean, things, I think in today's world, because we do not have to understand fully how stuff works, we just take it as given. And I think this page here is awesome. It's pure gold, so that you understand how stuff works under the hood. And we often forget about this. I mean, we just say, oh, yeah, we use this framework method or so. And don't know how stuff gets written to a disk, or how screens or even LLMs work under the hood.
The other thing I found as well, which had me in stitches on the other hand, was like vibe coding tips and tricks on GitHub, which is actually an explanation how to write code rather than like vibe code tips. So it's basically like, oh, think about before you do the thing, add some testing framework in there, add some documentation in there. And I'm like, you're describing coding. Like, this is not, I mean, I'm very happy. And I think it definitely needs to have something like that. But it feels so fascinating that the whole vibe coding manifesto was like, don't think about the code, and now people are writing things about like, maybe we should think about the code. Or there was a Reddit thread where somebody said like, oh, maybe a senior engineer should look over your code and tell you what the problems in it are. And they're like, you just described programming in a professional environment. That's not a new thing. It's a bit like when some there was an American company that actually said like that their oil tankers could have like a piece of cloth at the front of it that actually makes sure that they're not only having to that the wind could actually drive the ship further rather than only the engine. And I'm like, you just invented sailing, which is older than anything else.
True. I mean, to be fair, I think if you vibe code properly, then you can get the same result as if you would write stuff by hand. The problem is, I mean, if you accumulated all that knowledge and if you write that by hand, I mean, all the constraints, all the security things you have to think of and everything, in the end, I'm not sure if then you're faster. I mean, there is this study I read about that people were asked, hey, if you do vibe code or use AI assistant, how much faster do you think you are? And they said, I think 24%. Then they fixed the tasks. They said, oh, we thought we were 20% faster. And it turned out they were like even 20% slower than in most cases than what they would have been without, or if they would have solved the reference task without AI support.
I wish that people would differentiate more. I think vibe coding in itself has an interesting thing to it. It feels like playing free jazz as a musician, but you also have to know your instruments, and you have to be a good musician before you play free jazz that doesn't sound like a 3-year-old going to town on a xylophone. So and I think it's the same with like vibe coding. It's for people that want to just make ideas, get like a prototype out or validate something, what it could look like as an app, rather than just seeing it as the thing. AI assisted coding, on the other hand, is totally a valid thing, I think, but it can also go completely wrong. I mean, in my case, I just had a lot of like liquid stuff that I've written, and it actually, I wrote the syntax wrong in the first message, and then the auto-completion were all in the wrong syntax. They all were logical, but none of it was actually executable. So that's when you have a non-human that doesn't know the grammar of the language, just randomly get you things. I mean, the old joke was like, if you go January, February into Excel, then it will tell you Mariary and Apiary, and that's the next ones, because it just saw 2 of them as a pattern already. But I think there is, of course, AI coded assisted coding is definitely the thing, the future, if not the present already. But the other thing is, of course, the cost again, as you said as well in your talk. Like, I mean, people said like, if you really want to have an AI code assistant, Claude or whatever, in a larger project, that's another 100K per developer a year just in licensing. And that basically is a very interesting thing to consider. Like, is the efficiency or the perceived efficiency of your engineering team worth 100K in a year? Or is it actually, does it make more sense to actually invest this in infrastructure and in also supporting your engineers to stay with your company? Because I've seen in my history in this market, and you probably as well, the biggest issue was handover and people leaving the project without documentation behind.
True, or the whole tribe knowledge stuff which you have in a company. I mean, also, I mean, if you use those AI assistants, they have, I mean, usually they have a set of tokens. They're not flat token rate, so to say. And I mean, if you extensively use this, I had team members in a one customer project. They hit that within 2 weeks, and then for the rest of the 2 weeks, they basically had to buy extra tokens, which cost them like 3 or 4 times what they paid for the initial license. So it comes as a cost, and I think, yeah, I mean, beyond the hype, you need to make the total cost of ownership calculation. Does it like financial cost, and also the time I'm saving with this.
This is also another resource that I found really exciting, that basically shows different languages and traps that developers fall into. I mean, I don't know if that's an English speaker, but I mean, because traps, in this case, traps to developers is not really a sentence, but what it says, like, here's the dangers of different environments and different languages that people always get wrong, and you should not get wrong from the beginning. And I love that people write this stuff together, and hopefully it's peer reviewed. Because let the auto completion bots add that. Like, take a look at those things and actually say, like, avoid those, rather than just like official documentation and the happy path, rather than just going there. It has great things like floating point, like how to not make sure that basically numbers, like prices should never be floating point, because you have the roundup problem, which was like made fun of in Office Space and all the things, but it is always an issue. Different architecture things with Java and these kind of things. And I love that you can also contribute to that one. So that's a really, really cool resource as well. And that's the kind of stuff that you realize you never write down. In the beginning, when I started in my career, this was my currency. I knew how things broke and how to avoid them. And I was one of the first people, well, not one of the first people, but I was like, okay, I write this down on my blog and publish it with Creative Commons, because if I get run over by a bus, other people can learn from that as well. Or if I'm drunk and I come back home 3 months later and I've forgotten about it, the amount of times that I look things up and I find my own blog with an answer from like 2018 or 2007, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot about that again. Excellent. But this is great to actually show the people, like, here's the things to avoid in different technologies.
Yeah, I had a look at that too. It's really cool. I mean, I'm less the HTML CSS person, but the Java's part really spoke to me, and I said, oh yeah, I fell into this several times as well.
Yeah. So you had a very like heated post on LinkedIn about the T and vibe coding thing. So what's your stance now after that a bit of time has gone into the land?
Still the same. I mean, or even more, because I realized like how bad it really is. I mean, first of all, as far as I know, it was not sure that it was wipe coded. It was just bad practice. I mean, they left open a Firebase bucket with everyone full control and like no authentication. But the main problem for this is, like, I mean, of course, it's the thing that these is a dating, or that was a site that should be prone to security. The other problem you have is now that, let's say you have those selfies and you have these driving license or so. That's not something you can change. If I leak your password, or if I leak your certificate, then you revoke it, you create a new one, you create a new password. But your biometrics, you cannot just, I mean, I cannot just revoke that, and I cannot just change that. Even if I have a driving license or something that a KYC framework would use, I mean, you just can't, you would have to get a new license, and depending on the country and what the license type you use, that can be a lengthy and complicated process, and also a very expensive one. I mean, and for me, that's really bad, because I mean, people here deliberately did not understand or negotiate that this is, first of all, very sensitive information. I mean, look at the picture. They have an EXIF. If you don't take the EXIF data out and you took that at home, I have your driving license, I have your address or the location where you took this. I can look your name up on Facebook, on Instagram, and I mean, if you use stuff like deepfakecam.com or so, which is like I think it's an open source project even. I mean, you can use 1 or 2 pictures and create a quite okay deepfake that potentially would pass the KYC framework. You can open bank accounts, and I mean, the only thing you really can do is you can revoke your identity document you have, but you cannot change the biometrics. So for me, this is even worse than, I mean, if a password is leaked, that's not cool, but I can revoke and change that. But here I have something that is really hard to change, and that's maybe why I got so angry about it.
I mean, it shouldn't have been a thing in the first place. I mean, you shouldn't have to upload
True.
your driving license to actually get access to a piece of software. I mean, with banking, you get like your phone as as a 2FA or your passport, but you never upload it to the system. Like I mean, the way he stored it in just a Firebase was just a problem as well. Like, and I mean, I don't know. As a European, I probably wouldn't have never done that. But it seems like Americans are much more nilly-willy with these kind of things and say like, okay, yeah, sure, I can put that in. I mean, Dan, you're in the UK now, so they have a lot of stuff where you're supposed to put your license up as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's sort of a continuum, when it comes to this, because I mentioned before, Chris, where I've said, it seems like all of you guys in Germany are very, worried about and you said, well, yeah, the history, means that we don't want to give over our information so kind of readily. And I feel like we're sort of somewhere in the middle where we've got this concern around giving over our information, but we probably do it anyway. And we're just obedient maybe. But at the moment, yeah, the Online Safety Act in the UK, I mean, it's funny to see the way it's being reported, because there was a headline the other day saying, visits to adult sites have dropped massively from the UK since the Online Safety Act. And you're like, I wonder if there's an increase from other countries because of the VPNs. Like, we all know the same number of visits, but it's just VPNs. But it does show that people, at least, in the UK as well, are not really that happy to give over this sort of information. I think there's something different in our minds maybe about official documents, so passports and driving licenses. That feels like a completely different step to upload an old bill or something that might have your address, because it just feels like there's so much more on your passport. But yeah, I think that right now we're seeing kind of these topics are like right at the top of the headlines, because they're not just governments doing it, but it's like startups, and there feels like there's a lot less oversight when you've got startups that could be run by people that are completely vibe coding them, could be worse than T. And so you haven't even got the oversight of like a government or the concern. You've just got an individual, which really worries me.
I mean, on the other, it's also that, I mean, those KYC, I don't know about UK, but in Germany and Switzerland, these KYC sites and providers, they're quite expensive. I mean, it costs several euro to validate someone. Like, I think the last time I checked is like between €3 and €6, depending on the level of authentication or like validation you needed. And I mean, people then say, okay, I skipped that money. I don't want to pay €5 for something I give for free to people, and then you come up with something like this. And I hope those guys get fined really, really badly, because I mean, that's like, they should basically state an example that stuff like this should not happen.
I doubt it, though. I mean, there is this whole like, oh, he saw a chance to build a cool thing and did it, and it's such a go-getter attitude from the Silicon Valley, and he's probably going to get a startup with a few millions, which shows again that the gods are against us. But we'll see. I mean, there's a creepy aspect to that as well. Like, I mean, it's an app that was supposed to give women online more privacy and more security, and it completely failed at doing so. So I think that's the more angle that should be played there as well. Like, that a guy like him has no. I mean, I was amazed to hear it. I mean, I heard that, okay, there's an app for women to actually vet guys online, which is cool. I think that's actually necessary, sadly enough. And I was 100% sure there's a woman behind it, like doing it. But no, it was some cool dude trying to play the white savior for online safety or something. I don't know.
Yeah, true. The question is also, I mean, was that deliberate? I mean, I think that cannot be clarified, and I think the juristical statement will always be different. Did he do that deliberately? Did he want to keep those information for something else, or was it just a mistake out of not knowing what to do? And I still hope it was the second, that was just a mistake and a lack of coding skills, and not deliberate act of keeping that data for, whatever we do not want to think of.
Yeah, that it wasn't a honeypot kind of thing.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're out of time, and we are actually over time again already. But it's been fun chatting with you. I switched from Wi-Fi to Ethernet, so it's actually good because it's much faster and much more stable. But the vapor actually makes me dizzy, so we have to get rid of that as well. So that's the that joke of the day. Dan, what's your last words?
Vibe code with caution, because yes, I think. Well, do you know what? I actually would say, just on this, the final one. I think I finally found the purpose of vibe coding, and it was giving it to a friend so that he, working in music, could mock something up, and then he said to me, and it was great, I'm going to hand this to somebody who knows what to do with it. And I thought, that's it. That's it. Non-technical people can do something and then hand it to somebody who knows what to do with it. So keep learning how to code. Don't give up on it. Don't just vibe code your way to victory. And that's what we all, and then we can keep calling ourselves developers because we actually write code because we understand it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's throw away the vibe code as well. Like, don't just let somebody else by hand try to edit that stuff, because we had that before when we talked to other people. Like, what do you do with code that was generated by Claude and gets imported into Copilot? Does it then reanalyze that code, or does it understand, like, why isn't there any communication between the two systems, how something was chosen or why it was chosen? That's why what you would do as a human. But the systems right now do that because it's meant to be throwaway code, and it's meant to be things that are just there to prove a point or solve a problem for the moment, but not like become a thing that other people have to use as well. Jan, what's your last words for people out there?
I don't know, and it's hard to add something to these meaningful statements. No, but I think it's what you said, Dan. I mean, keep learning your stuff, and also if you're a junior developer and the market seems to be against you, learn your craft, invest time in getting up and getting better, and ask for help. I mean, there's many like volunteering community that can help you getting the experience you maybe don't get by your professional anymore, because people think this AI stuff helps you getting better or getting a job later. So learn your craft, know what you're doing, and I think then you have a really good future.
Cool. Well, that's WeAreDevelopers Live for today. We forgot to mention that there's going to be a workshop or a course with our partner Algorand soon. We're going to be publishing that on social media, so take a look on that. There's going to be a hackathon coming up, what you can do with blockchain to actually make it useful again, because that's a hype that went away and now we're wondering about it. But they have some good ideas. So take a peek at our social media platforms where we publish right now, and you will see that in the next few hours or days, there's going to be lots of information about that one. For us, we are actually, I was supposed to be in Vienna for Half Stack conference, but it's actually moved to next year, so they couldn't do it. So the next place where you can see me live is going to be All Things Open in America, if I can get into the country. But I got my ESTA, so far that looks good. And yeah. Other than that, you see each other next Wednesday or hear each other, and you can do whatever you want while we're having a chat here. Thanks again, Jan, for being our guest today. I hope that made up for the stage time that you didn't have, but there's a new Congress coming, and we have offer papers open soon again.
Awesome. I for sure will apply again.
Cool. See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.